The legal battle between Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook and President Donald Trump is not merely a personal dispute. It is a landmark case with profound implications for the independence of the U.S. central bank and the broader economy. This issue has escalated to the Supreme Court, drawing attention from a bipartisan group of former Fed chairs and economic officials who collectively argue that preserving the Fed's autonomy is critical for the nation's financial stability. At its core, the dispute centers on the interpretation of for-cause removal, a legal principle designed to insulate key government officials from political pressure. Summary of the issue. The conflict began when President Trump announced his decision to fire Governor Cook, citing unsubstantiated allegations of mortgage fraud dating from before her appointment. Cook, who was appointed by former President Joe Biden, has consistently denied these claims and has sued to block her removal. Her legal team argues that Trump's justification is a pretext to remove her for her policy views, thereby violating the statutory protections granted to Fed governors. A federal judge initially sided with Cook, issuing an injunction that has allowed her to remain on the board while the case proceeds. The Trump administration has since appealed to the Supreme Court, seeking an emergency order to remove her immediately. The core of the legal argument revolves around the Federal Reserve Act, which states that a Fed governor can be removed by the president only for cause. Historically, this provision has been interpreted to mean misconduct while in office, not for actions taken before their tenure. Cook's legal team and a chorus of economic experts contend that a president cannot fire a Fed governor simply for disagreeing with their monetary policy stance. Doing so, they argue, would set a dangerous precedent, turning the Federal Reserve into a political arm of the White House and eroding its ability to make independent decisions based on economic data rather than political expediency. Reasons and consequences. The primary reason for the Fed's institutional independence is to prevent short-term political motives from influencing long-term economic decisions. When a central bank is free from political pressure, it can make unpopular but necessary choices, such as raising interest rates to combat inflation without fear of reprisal. This independence is a cornerstone of public confidence, both domestically and internationally. If the Supreme Court sides with the president, the consequences could be severe and far-reaching. The first and most immediate risk is a loss of market confidence. Financial markets, investors, and businesses rely on the Fed to be a stable and predictable force. If the Fed is perceived as being subservient to the president's will, its credibility would be compromised. This could lead to market volatility, as investors would be uncertain whether future monetary policy decisions are based on sound economic analysis or political whims. Furthermore, a politically influenced Fed could lead to a cycle of economic instability. For example, a president might pressure the Fed to keep interest rates low to stimulate the economy before an election, even if such a move risks stoking inflation. Over the long term, this could lead to higher and more volatile inflation, eroding the purchasing power of citizens and undermining economic stability. This is why a bipartisan group of former officials, including Alan Greenspan, Ben Bernanke, and Janet Yellen, have joined forces to protect the Fed's independence, underscoring the gravity of the situation beyond partisan politics. Prediction and solutions. The legal precedent in this case is mixed. While some recent Supreme Court rulings have expanded a president's removal powers over leaders of independent agencies, the court has also shown a unique deference to the Fed, recognizing its distinct quasi-private structure and critical role in the economy. This ambiguity makes the outcome difficult to predict. However, given the strong bipartisan support for preserving the Fed's independence, there is a compelling argument that the court will uphold the lower court's injunction, allowing Cook to remain on the board until her lawsuit is fully adjudicated. Regardless of the Supreme Court's ruling, this case highlights a fundamental vulnerability in the current legal framework. The ambiguity of the for-cause provision has opened the door to a constitutional crisis. A long-term solution would require Congress to clarify and strengthen the legal protections for Fed governors. One potential solution is to define for-cause more explicitly, perhaps by establishing a formal nonpartisan review process for any removal attempt. This would reduce the possibility of politically motivated firings and reinforce the Fed's independence without altering its core functions. Ultimately, the Cook case is a critical test of whether the Fed can maintain its autonomy in an increasingly polarized political environment. The decision will not only determine Governor Cook's future, but also shape the future of U.S. monetary policy and the stability of the global financial system.